Thank you, Adam, and welcome again, everyone. Very happy that you're here. Today, we will be sharing a lot of important information with you. Like Adam said, we have updates for 2022 and also information related to COVID-19 quarantine leave. And as employers and HR professionals, you really play an important role in implementing paid family leave and helping employees navigate this important benefit. So I hope that the information today is useful to you. Over the years, paid family leave benefits have been significantly enhanced to further improve the lives of working New Yorkers and their families, including providing more time off, more uses for paid family leave, and more financial security. So in today's presentation, we will provide a brief refresher on New York paid family leave and how it works, share the important updates for 2022, review key responsibilities as an employer or HR professional, go over some similarities and differences between paid family leave and the federal FMLA, discuss New York State COVID-19 quarantine leave, and then highlight the many resources available. And like Adam said, there will be plenty of time at the end for all of your questions. So let's get started with a bit of background. In April of 2016, New York paid family leave, the nation's strongest and most comprehensive paid family leave policy, was signed into law. Paid family leave is employee-funded insurance that helps employees be there for their family when they're most needed. Because of paid family leave, workers across New York no longer have to choose between caring for their loved ones and their jobs, as we now have employee-paid insurance to help in these critical times. So as I just mentioned, paid family leave is insurance, and it is fully covered by employee contributions, which are collected through a small payroll deduction. This critical benefit provides job-protected, paid time off to employees who need time away from their jobs to bond with a newly born, adopted, or fostered child, care for a family member with a serious health condition, or assist loved ones when a spouse, domestic partner, child, or parent is deployed abroad on active military service. Under legislation signed into law in March of 2020, paid family leave now also provides paid time off and job protection so employees can care for themselves or their minor dependent child when under a mandatory order of quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. The order must be issued by the state of New York, the Department of Health, local board of health, or any government entity duly authorized to issue such order due to COVID-19. And we'll go into more detail on these uses later in the presentation, as they are a bit different from the other three. In addition to paid time off, New York paid family leave also has very strong employee protections. Employees are guaranteed to return to the same or a comparable job after taking paid family leave. A comparable job is defined as a position with comparable employment benefits, pay, and other terms and conditions of employment. Employees are guaranteed continuation of health insurance on the same terms as if they had continued to work while they're out on paid family leave. If employees contribute to the cost of their health insurance, they must continue paying their portion of the premium while on leave. Employees are also guaranteed protection from discrimination and retaliation, so requesting or taking paid family leave cannot be held against them. As an employer or HR professional, it may be helpful for you to know the kinds of questions that employees are asking, which could then help direct the guidance that you provide and the materials that you make available. So you can see on the screen that these are the top 5 questions that we get to our paid family leave helpline from employees, and we will cover the answers to all of these questions throughout today's presentation. First, let's walk through a quick review of the 3 basic uses of paid family leave. Starting with bonding with a child, paid family leave provides both parents time to bond with a new child within the first 12 months of the birth, adoption, or foster care placement. Parents who work for different employers can take paid family leave at the same time to bond with the same child. Parents who work for the same employer can take it at the same time unless their employer prohibits it, and in that case, they can take leave separately over the first 12 months following the child's birth, adoption, or foster care placement. It is important to note that expectant mothers cannot take paid family leave for their own pregnancy, so they can only take paid family leave for bonding after the baby is actually born. A parent may be able to take paid family leave before the actual adoption or foster care placement of a child if an absence from work is required for the adoption or placement to be finalized. Paid family leave is also available for employees to care for a spouse, domestic partner, child, stepchild, parent, parent-in-law, step-parent, grandparent, or grandchild who has a serious health condition. Currently, siblings are not covered, but effective January 1st, 2023, siblings will be included in family members eligible to receive care. And just to clarify on domestic partner, it is defined broadly under the paid family leave law. So it includes people who are not related by blood in a manner that would bar marriage in New York State and who are dependent on one another for support. So for example, an employee may be able to prove that they are in a domestic partnership by showing that they own property together or have children in common. A legal relationship is not necessary. And it's important to note that it doesn't matter if these family members live outside of New York State or even outside of the country. Employees can take paid family leave to care for their family member as long as they are within close and continuing proximity. So in other words, present at the same location as the family member that they're caring for during the majority of the paid family leave period. So if the family member lives in Alabama, the employee would need to travel to Alabama and be with the family member for the majority of the paid family leave period. And providing care includes necessary physical care, emotional support, visitation, assistance in treatment, transportation, arranging for a change in care, assistance with essential daily living matters, and personal attendant services. In order to take this type of leave, the employee's family member must have a serious health condition, which is defined as an illness, injury, or condition that requires either inpatient care in a hospital, hospice, or residential healthcare facility, or continuing treatment or supervision by a healthcare provider. A COVID-19 diagnosis may qualify as a serious health condition. The third type of leave is for assisting during a military deployment. Paid family leave benefits are available when employees have a spouse, domestic partner, child, or parent on active service abroad or who has been notified of an impending call or order of active service abroad and family assistance is needed. Reasons for paid family leave for an active service deployment are the same as the military provisions of the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA. So again, it covers the employee's spouse, domestic partner, child, or parent. And there are a number of instances where paid family leave will help, as you can see here on the screen. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there are also 2 uses of paid family leave related to COVID-19, which we'll go over in a few minutes. Before we do that, let's take a look at the specific benefits that are available to employees under paid family leave in 2022 and how it's paid for. Paid family leave provides time off and wage benefits, which were gradually phased in over a 4-year period that started in 2018. At that time, paid family leave provided 8 weeks off at 50% pay up to a cap. Paid family leave is now fully phased in, with eligible employees able to take up to 12 weeks of paid family leave at 67% of their average weekly wage, capped at 67% of the New York State average weekly wage. An employee's average weekly wage is based on their last 8 weeks of pay prior to taking paid family leave. For 2022, the New York State average weekly wage is $1,594.97. And then something to keep in mind is that employees can take this paid time off all at once or intermittently, but it must always be taken in full day increments. So as I've mentioned, paid family leave is fully funded through employee contributions, and each year the Department of Financial Services sets the employee contribution rate to match the cost of coverage. In 2022, the payroll contribution is 0.511% of an employee's gross wages each pay period. The maximum annual contribution is $423.71. If you have an employee that earns less than the statewide average weekly wage, they will contribute less than the annual cap, and it'll be consistent with their actual wages. To estimate deductions, you can use the 2022 payroll deduction calculator, which is available on the Paid Family Leave website. So just to summarize those updates for 2022, the maximum weekly benefit increased from $971.61 a week in 2021 to $1,068.36 in 2022. And as of January 1st, 2022, employers may continue deducting at the rate of 0.511% of an employee's gross wages each pay period, but it is capped at a new annual maximum of $423.71. You may recall that the annual maximum cap in 2021 was $385.34. Now that we have covered the types of leave, the benefits, and the cost, let's review who is eligible to take paid family leave. Most private employers with one or more employees are required to have paid family leave insurance for their employees. Public employers may opt into the program, and employees of public employers who are represented by a union may be covered if paid family leave is collectively bargained. For covered employees, eligibility for taking paid family leave depends on meeting specific requirements for the amount of time employees have worked for their employer. So full-time employees, which means those who regularly work 20 or more hours per week, are eligible for paid family leave after 26 consecutive weeks of employment with the same employer. Part-time employees, meaning those who work a regular schedule of less than 20 hours per week, are eligible after working 175 days, which do not need to be consecutive. Citizenship or immigration status is not ever a factor in employee eligibility. Governor Hochul recently signed an amendment to the workers' compensation law, which expands coverage for domestic workers. So previously, domestic workers were only required to be covered if they worked at least 40 hours per week for their employer. As of January 1st, 2022, domestic workers who are hired directly by a private homeowner and who work 20 or more hours per week for the private homeowner are required to be covered for paid family leave. And then these workers will be eligible for benefits once they have been in employment with that employer for 26 consecutive weeks. Paid family leave coverage is not optional for eligible employees. Employees can waive coverage if they work fewer than 20 hours per week and will not work 175 days in a year. So you'll note that that's a little bit different than the eligibility standard. So employees who work fewer than 20 hours per week become eligible after working 175 days, no matter how long it takes. But if they won't work those 175 days within a year, then they are eligible to complete a PFL waiver form. The other instance where employees can waive coverage is if they regularly work 20 or more hours per week, but they will not be in employment with that employer for 26 consecutive weeks. So seasonal workers are a good example of that. because they may work full-time, but maybe for only 3 months out of the year, so they won't ever reach 26 consecutive weeks of employment. If you do have an employee that meets the criteria for waiving coverage, you must provide them with a waiver form, which is available on the Paid Family Leave website. Employees who do properly file a waiver will not make contributions and will not be eligible for paid family leave benefits. Employers should just make sure to keep a copy of an employee's waiver on file. If an employee's schedule changes such that they no longer qualify for a waiver, so for example, you had a seasonal worker, you only hired them for 3 months, so they qualified for a waiver, but they were such a good employee that now they're going to be permanent and stay on for the remainder of the year and continuing forward. So now their schedule has changed such that they no longer qualify for a waiver because they will be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks. So that waiver will be automatically revoked within 8 weeks of the schedule change. Also keep in mind that an employee can voluntarily revoke a waiver at any time. If an employee's waiver is revoked, their employer will begin taking paid family leave contributions and can also collect any retroactive amounts due for the time that the waiver was in place. Now we'll cover how employees request paid family leave and the employer's role in the process. So here is how the paid family leave request process works. Before applying, the employee must notify the employer at least 30 days before their leave will start if it's a foreseeable leave. Otherwise, they must notify their employer as soon as possible. Next, the employee will obtain the request form package for the type of leave they need to take and complete the request for paid family leave or form PFL-1 following the instructions on the cover sheet. They'll make a copy for their records and submit it to their employer. The employer must fill out their section of the form and return it to the employee within 3 business days. This information includes items such as the employer's address, FEN, employee's date of hire, and last 8 weeks of wages. If the employer does not complete their portion of the form, the employee can still submit the form and cannot be denied solely based on the employer not filling in their portion. So if an employee gives you the form to fill out and you decide not to complete it within 3 business days, that employee can still file their claim, and now you no longer have the option to put in your information on that form. So it is important that you fill that in within the 3 business days and give it back to the employee. Employees will then submit Form PFL-1, the other request forms that are specific to the leave they are taking, and any other supporting documentation directly to the employer's paid family leave insurance carrier. They can submit their request before or within 30 days after the start of their leave before they risk losing benefits. In most cases, the insurance carrier must pay or deny benefits within 18 days of receiving the completed request package or the employee's first day of leave, whichever is later. Employees can get paid family leave request forms from their employer's insurance carrier, or directly from paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/form. If for some reason an employee's paid family leave request is denied, or they have another claim-related dispute, such as the amount of benefits or the timeliness of a carrier's decision, they may request to have the decision reviewed by a neutral arbitrator. The insurance carrier or the employer, if it's an approved self-insured employer, will notify the employee of the reason for denial and provide them with information about requesting arbitration. Arbitration for paid family leave is handled by NAM, National Arbitration and Mediation, and more information on arbitration is available at NAM's website. As mentioned earlier, an employer may not discriminate against an employee for requesting or taking paid family leave, and an employee is guaranteed job protection with the same or a comparable job upon return from paid family leave. If an employer does not return an employee to the same or a comparable job, terminates the employee, reduces the employee's pay and/or benefits, or disciplines the employee in any way as a result of the employee requesting or taking paid family leave, the employee can file a discrimination claim with the Workers' Compensation Board. An administrative law judge may order an employer to reinstate an employee, pay any lost wages, pay attorney's fees, and pay up to $500 in penalties. The full process and all of the forms are available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, or employees can always call the Paid Family Leave Helpline, which is 844-337-6303. Paid family leave was designed to be easy for employers to implement, so now I want to walk you through a checklist of employer responsibilities. Again, most private employers in New York State must have paid family leave insurance, so the first thing to do is ensure that you do have coverage in place. Generally, if employers are required to carry short-term disability insurance, they are also required to carry paid family leave. The paid family leave insurance is generally added to the existing disability insurance policy as a rider. Employers who are self-insured for disability must purchase a separate paid family leave policy or apply to the Workers' Compensation Board to self-insure for paid family leave. For a full list of insurers who are offering paid family leave policies, you can visit the paid family leave section of the Department of Financial Services website at dfs.ny.gov/PFL. The next thing to make sure that you've done is informed your employees. So any employee handbooks or other written guidance to employees must be updated to include information on paid family leave. To make this easy for you, we have posted model language on the employer section of paidfamilyleave.ny.gov. So you can look at that and customize it, or just fill in a few blanks and print it as is. An employer should also make sure that they're collecting payroll contributions at the 2022 contribution rate, which, as a reminder, is 0.511%. And then also make sure that you are identifying any employees who qualify for a waiver. These are employees who work fewer than 20 hours per week and won't work 175 days in a year, or who work 20 or more hours per week but will not be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks. And remember that if you do have employees that meet those criteria, you must provide them with a waiver form. And if they do waive coverage, then they will not make contributions and will not be eligible for benefits. And then another reminder to just keep a copy of those waivers on file. It's possible that your insurance carrier will request a copy. Make sure that you also post an employee notice. So insurance carriers will provide you with a notice of compliance, which is Form PFL 120, also known as the notice to employees, which says that you have paid family leave insurance, and it also provides employees with key information about the benefit. Self-insured employers can get this notice by contacting the Workers' Compensation Board by emailing certificates at wcb.ny.gov. You must post and maintain this notice in plain view, similar to how the signage for workers' compensation and short-term disability insurance is displayed. Remember that if you receive a paid family leave claim from an employee, you must complete the employer section, which is Part B of the PFL-1 form, and return it within 3 business days. You'll be asked to provide the employee's last 8 weeks of gross wages and calculate the average weekly wage. And then make sure that you discuss any specific leave tracking or other processes with your paid family leave insurance carrier. We are frequently asked about the similarities and differences between paid family leave and FMLA, so we're going to walk through those. So how are the two benefits similar? There are a lot of similarities between New York's paid family leave and the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act. Both provide leave for bonding with a child, caring for a family member with a serious health condition, and assisting when a loved one is deployed abroad on active military service. And employees are also guaranteed that they'll return to the same or a comparable position and their health insurance shall continue on the same terms as if the employee had continued to work. If employees contribute to the cost of their health insurance, they must continue to pay their portion of the premium cost while on leave. There are a number of key differences for you to be aware of. A big one is that paid family leave is paid and FMLA is not paid. All private employers will carry paid family leave insurance. FMLA is not an insurance product, and it does have a 50 employee threshold for eligibility. The length of time that an employee must work is different. So just as a quick review for paid family leave, employees who work 20 or more hours per week must be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks, and employees who work fewer than 20 hours per week must work 175 days. But for FMLA, employees must have worked for a full year and 1,250 hours in the last 52 weeks to qualify. One of the biggest distinctions is that under New York's paid family leave, an employee is taking leave to care for someone else, not for their own serious health condition. The only exception is under the COVID-19 quarantine leave. You'd be able to take it for your own order of quarantine or isolation, but you cannot take it for your own serious health condition. FMLA, you can take leave for your own serious health condition. Paid family leave can only be taken in full day increments if it's being taken intermittently. FMLA, you can take hourly. And then also under paid family leave, employees do not need to use other paid time off first. So as I keep hinting at, there are 2 additional uses of paid family leave that took effect under emergency legislation enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The legislation allows for a combination of New York paid family leave and disability benefits if an employee is under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. This is the only time employees may receive paid family leave and disability benefits at the same time. It also gives employees access to paid family leave if their minor dependent child is under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. So the benefits that are available to employees for COVID-19 quarantine leave for their own order of quarantine or isolation vary depending on the size of the employer. So for most employers who work for for most employees who work for an employer with 10 or fewer employees and a business net annual income of less than $1 million in the previous year, those employees can use a combination of paid family leave and disability benefits. So the way that works is employees may be eligible to receive their PFL benefit, which is up to a maximum of $840.70 a week. Then they would be able to receive disability benefits up to their full wages with a maximum disability benefit of $2,043.92 a week, giving a total maximum combined paid family leave and disability benefit of $2,884.62 per week. There's no waiting period for either benefit. Employees have job protection for the duration of the quarantine, and keep in mind that employees must otherwise be eligible for paid family leave and disability benefits. For most employers with 11 to 99 employees and smaller employers with a business net annual income of greater than $1 million in the previous year, you are required to provide at least 5 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave. This is not regular paid sick leave. It's not accruals. This is specific to COVID-19 quarantine leave when you have an employee who is under an order of quarantine or isolation. If you are in this medium employer size, you are required to provide 5 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave separate from any other accruals that the employee has. Then, after those 5 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave, if the employee is still under an order of quarantine or isolation, they may be eligible to use paid family leave and disability benefits, and it'll be the same benefit that we just talked about, where they can get paid family leave up to $840.70 a week, and then disability benefits up to $2,043.92 a week, for a total maximum of $2,884.62 a week. No waiting period. for the benefits, and they do have job protection. And then same thing here, where the employee has to otherwise be eligible for the paid family leave and disability benefits. For most employers with 100 or more employees, as well as all public employers, you are required to provide at least 14 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave when an employee is under an order of quarantine or isolation. Employees are not eligible for paid family leave or disability benefits. They do still have job protection. And then keep in mind that you are only required to provide COVID-19 paid sick leave days for the duration of the quarantine. So if the quarantine is fewer than 14 days, then you would not be paying 14 days for that order of quarantine or isolation. If an employee requests leave for their minor dependent child's quarantine or isolation, then they may be eligible to receive 67% of their pay up to a maximum weekly benefit of $840.70. There's no employer size requirement for this benefit, and employees do have to otherwise be eligible for paid family leave benefits. So I know that that is a lot of information at once on the COVID quarantine benefits. We do have a full website dedicated to COVID-19 information. So this webpage is paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/COVID-19. We have frequently asked questions there, all of the applications, and more information. As we continue to work closely with employers to ensure successful implementation of paid family leave throughout New York State, there are a number of resources that are available to help. Complete details on paid family leave are available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, along with opt-in, request, and waiver forms, fact sheets, and weekly benefit and payroll deduction calculators. We've also created a special updates for 2022 page, which is available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/2022, with a number of employer resources to help explain and communicate benefit and deduction changes, including an overview of the changes, frequently asked questions, an updated employee statement of rights, updated model language that can be used for an employee handbook or other written materials, and a template to use to notify employees of their payroll deduction amount. We strongly encourage employers to inform employees of their new deduction amount. Employers and employees can always contact the Paid Family Leave Helpline at 844-337-6303 for assistance Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. If you are not already subscribed for email updates on paid family leave, you can subscribe by clicking Get Paid Family Leave Updates on the bottom of the paidfamilyleave.ny.gov homepage. And finally, I just want to make you aware of the board's Advocate for Business. The Advocate for Business is a liaison between New York's business community and the Workers' Compensation Board, giving employers one place to contact for answers to their workers' compensation questions, as well as any questions that employers may have about paid family leave as it relates to your business. And you can contact the Advocate for Business by emailing advocatebusiness@wcb.ny.gov. I really hope that you have found this presentation helpful. I know it's a lot of information. Our website is a great resource, as is our call center. But thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss New York's landmark paid family leave with you. Before we take questions, I'm just going to turn it back over to Adam.